favorite chic geek and project manager extraordinaire. On this channel, we talk about project management, time management, ways to boost your productivity so you can work smarter and live a more healthy, fulfilled life. We also touch a little bit on cybersecurity and AI, which are my personal passions. I'm working through a cybersecurity certification, the first of a few, and I also work as a corporate project manager in our information security division. But today I want to talk about something fun. Some of my favorite things to plan are trips. And I keep getting a lot of feedback when I go on trips or plan trips with family and friends. Like, wow, like you planned a really good trip. Like, how did you do that? Like, it was amazing. So, I want to take you behind the scenes and give you a peek into my trip planning process. Once I sat down and started writing notes about it, I realized that it's actually quite involved. So I think we'll be doing a few different parts about the trip, from the research to the planning to the execution to being on the trip. And then also afterwards, there's follow up, and closing it out, kind of like a project. So let's get into it without further ado. Today, I want us to focus specifically on the trip research and planning process. This is the most important part of the entire situation because this is what will set you up for success. How you plan your trip determines whether or not it's a fun trip, whether or not you spend too much money, whether or not friends will want to join you in the future. I love a good solo trip, but I also love a good trip with people. So let me just explain what I like to do when I'm sitting down and planning a trip. So first off, we all have amazing things we want to do and places we want to see and Instagram and TikTok feeds. But I think it's very important when traveling to make it as fun and enjoyable as possible, to just be super honest about your budget and what you can afford. So the first step is always making a budget. Personally, I already have monthly budgeting in my workflow. So I use the YNAB app, You Need a Budget app. And so that lets me see how much money I have coming in, what my bills are, how much I can set aside, what I save, and what I can invest. So I make my budget based on that. I can go more into budgeting if you guys want to. I'm happy to give you budgeting content if you think that's something helpful. But for now, I just want to focus on planning the trip. So whatever method you go about your budget, whether you have extra money, you have side income, hey everyone, however you want to go it, whenever you're planning a trip, you definitely want to start with the budget first. So that will determine a lot of things. Like once you just do some quick Google searches, if you know how much money you have to plan on a trip, and then you look up the flight and it costs like way more than what you have, and like unfortunately that trip either won't be something you can do, or you may have to push the trip out for further into the future, which is totally fine. So for me, I recently went to Martha's Vineyard for a week. It was amazing, but it was quite an expensive trip. So I started my budgeting and paying for the trip 6 months in advance. And I also started I've always wanted to go to Martha's Vineyard. Like it's kind of like a black bougie mecca. It's in like these different books I've read. It's in these different shows I've been on. Hey everyone. So I already knew it was something on my bucket list, and every year I do one big trip, and this was my one big trip. So the first thing when you're planning a trip, start with your budget in mind and then reverse engineer. So once you have a budget, just do some cursory searches. How much are flights from where you live to where you want to go? How much is the average lodging? You may have a budget and in your mind you want to stay for a week, but if hotels are expensive, you can only afford 3 or 4 days, then the budget will inform whether or not, that's feasible. So after you have your budget outlined, and okay, this might work, we can see what we can do, I think it's really important to like set an intention for your trip. Like set the goals and the vibe. Like what do you want to get out of this trip? You know, are you feeling burnt out? For me, this past trip, I knew last year I had a tough year and I wanted to just do something that just completely reset me. I wanted to do something that made me feel relaxed, restored, alive, living my best life. I wanted something that felt like a dream come true. So mine was all about relaxation, restoration, pampering, all those things. Oh, sorry, I thought I heard something. So set your goals, set your intention for the trip, nothing crazy, but some people, you may want to take a business trip. You may have a goal that you're trying to increase your reach or scope out facilities for your business. You may have a goal that you want to connect with someone in your family and maybe a family reunion. And you want to make sure that this is a time of fellowship and togetherness. Or you may have an annual girls trip you're planning, so you want to make sure that it's very girly, very fun, very balanced. So, and sometimes you want to do like a retreat, you know, you want to just get away from everything, unplug, and just really be at one with yourself. You know what I mean? So, first step, set a budget, and secondly, set a goal and intention for your trip. So once you have a budget and you have a goal and intention, that will really help you pinpoint a lot of things. That will help you pinpoint the location and the timing, right? Because if you're trying to have fun, you don't want to go in the high. If you're trying to have fun, you want to go in the high season. But if you're trying to do a retreat and relax, get away from everything, you may not want to go in the high season, or you may want to go if you want to be outside a lot, but you know it's going to be the weather won't be good in the place you want to go. Then you know that may not be the place, and you'll have to choose a different location. So the budget and the goals kind of go hand in hand, and that helps you pinpoint your destination or a short list of destinations, which takes us into the third step. So you have a budget, you have a goal or like a vibe you want to get out of it. So then you need to start collecting data, right? Like it's so funny. There's so many trips that I thought I wanted to do, and then I started like doing actual research on them, and I was like, actually I don't want to go there, or actually I don't want to go at that time, or I don't think it's worth that much money. Like I'm not gonna downplay any specific location, but there was somewhere that I wanted to go, and then I realized how much it was costing. I was like, that vibe for that cost doesn't feel worth it. So this is where the data collection comes in. So I do data collection from a variety of sources. I would say 4 main sources. 1, word of mouth. When it comes to travel, I think word of mouth is one of the strongest ways to gather information, particularly from people you actually know, or if you're like online and you feel like there's someone who has similar interests and similar vibe to you, do that. Because travel is like such a personality specific thing. There are so many places that have been recommended to me over and over and over that I went and I didn't love it. And there's also places where, because of the person who told me about it, I took a chance on it and it absolutely blew my mind. Like Croatia trip, favorite trip ever. And that one I never on my own would have thought of that location, but because of the person who was throwing the trip, I just gave complete trust to her and her planning, and it was the best decision I've made like in all of my travels like ever. So I think it's really important to take word of mouth as a big step in mind. And like one way to do word of mouth too is like things I've done where there was ideas I had a little bit off the beaten path, or like if people, my family like haven't been there, or my specific friends haven't been there, I reach out to my network of people who I know are well traveled or who may know someone who would know. And then I'll just reach out for a 30-minute or hour conversation with them, however long they're willing to give. And you'd be surprised like how much people are willing to just give you information. And then I also, while I'm traveling, I love to chat people up on the plane and in the airport and at the hotel, because that's where I've gotten a lot of my good travel tips, because it makes sense that people currently travel. It's something they do, they travel. So they can tell you a lot of good tips about oh, use this cruise line, don't do this one, we've tried everyone, and things like that. So I would say word of mouth is going to be your best friend, but then you also want to back it up with like real data. So you want to like Google. I use AI. I use Gemini personally. So when I was okay, so I planned my Martha's Vineyard trip on New Year's Day. I woke up, I already had like intentions and goals for the year, I already knew, and this one had just been nagging in the back of my head forever. And I just said, you know, let's put some information around it. Like, it feels like it's so aspirational, but sometimes when you put real data around these things, they become more concrete. So I literally just got on Gemini. I already had certain little things. I knew about like the historic Black area called Oak Bluffs. I knew that I like a more charming, like boutique type experience when I travel. I don't really, depending on the city or where I'm going, I may or may not go to like a big place like a Hilton or a Marriott, but I love like bed and breakfasts or like a boutique hotel or a historic building or something that only has a limited number of rooms. You know, I just like a certain vibe whenever I go anywhere. So I just put all that into Gemini. I was like, hey, Gemini, I really want to go to Martha's Vineyard. I knew that the 4th of July is very like the beginning of the high season in Martha's Vineyard. So I was like, I want to go there. I want to spend a good amount of time. My job always has a week off in the summer. So I was like, I plugged in the dates. I was like, what would give me a cost breakdown of what it would look like to go for these dates in Martha's Vineyard. And then, yeah, so based off what the AI gave me, I just tweaked it a little bit. So like it told me, okay, these are your options. There were some kind of like very popular places. And I was like, I want something a little more charming. I want to be close to the beach. I want to be in a very easily walkable area. I specifically want to be in Oak Bluffs of Martha's Vineyard. And we just started to narrow down. And then it gave me a short list of options. And then what I did was each different option that it gave me, I just looked it up on Google. Like I just did a search, I looked at the pictures, I added it to the list, or I looked at the pictures and the reviews and I was like, maybe not, but okay, move on. And I would tell the AI like, hey, this one was a good option because it looks very charming and it's family owned. This one I don't like because it's nothing under 3 stars. You know, I would tell it certain things like that. So because the thing was, I had already done the word of mouth. My mentor, I ran the idea past her. She's like, oh my God, you would love it. Go ASAP. And you know, based off of certain books and media and the type of people who I had seen who had enjoyed Martha's Vineyard, I felt very confident about choosing that destination. And then I just got on social media too and start following and really seeing in the eyes of what is there. What are the type of boutiques, what are the type of events. It's very culinary, there's a lot of art. There's the African American Film Festival is there, the African American Book Festival is there. So it was kind of like my tribe, you know what I mean? The Obamas go there, you know, so it was a whole thing. So that's what I got, and I put all that information into AI, and I also found out it has a very rich Black cultural heritage. And once I started searching, I found that it has a very good heritage tour is one of the highly rated attractions, doing yoga on the beach. So those were the type of things that AI was able to glean from all the reviews and all the information online for me that really solidified, okay, first off, this is definitely the place I want to go. Based off of the options of what's going on around the 4th of July, which is when I went, it was going to be a high budget trip, but it was enough that I could afford it to be my one very expensive trip for the year. So that's what I was like, okay, it hit the word of mouth, it hit. My mentor is like living the life, like she's like amazing, she totally loves it. It's like Black excellence. Social media, it looked like this world that I wanted to be a part of. You know, one of my favorite TV writers frequents there and was a major guest at the African American Film Festival there. One of my favorite books, they or a book turned TV show, they filmed there. And so as I started to learn more and really immerse myself into it, I was like positive. And then I looked at my personal preferences, right? I'm a nature person. I'm a leisure person. I'm not really looking for nightlife. You know, if there's something to pop out and do, that's fine. But nature, leisure, culinary experiences, culture, handcrafted boutiques. Like they have this amazing Black-owned women's boutique with these vintage Louis Vuitton bags. That was all very me, right? So that's what helped me really solidify my choice. And then I was like, okay, let's triple down. We're doing this. So then what I did was, from all the data I collected, I started with my budget. I figured out the goals and vibe. I wanted to be in like a Black bougie mecca. I wanted to enjoy and celebrate the 4th of July. It was the 250th anniversary of America, and I just really wanted to be in a Black place for that. I just feel like racial tensions have been very heavy, and I just wanted to feel safe emotionally and racially at that week, but I wanted to celebrate it, and I wanted to be out and do it. And then, of course, the data collection, the word of mouth, the social media, had a few chats with Gemini and Claude as well, and then I just matched it up to my personal preferences. Check, check, check. It was all matching. So from there, the fourth step is look at high, medium, and low options. Like, I mean, I know travel is like trendy on social media and people want to like get postable moments, but to me, the best travel travel is about being stress free. So while I love the bougie of the bougiest amenities, I also love not being worried about coming home or not being worried about how my bills are going to be paid when I get back, or not having to eat bologna every week for 6 months just to do the trip. So like, just see what your options are. Sometimes things in our head we think are so much more out of reach than they actually are, simply because we don't have the information. So I looked at the high, medium, low. The high was giving, honey. The high was giving. I'm not gonna hold you, but the high options were out of my budget, and I wanted to be there for at least 5 days to a week. And then the way that the dates set up, like the end of 5 days would have been like literally on the 4th of July, the day after. And I just didn't want to be rushed. Once again, I like leisure. I like to have my travel day. I like to create buffers so I can get home, relax, not have to rush into work and things like that. So because I wanted to do 7 days specifically, I ended up choosing the medium options. There are some low budget options. They just weren't up to par for what the experience I wanted. If the medium option wouldn't have been attainable for me, I would have just pushed the trip out, or I would have pushed to off season. So I specifically knew I was going in the high season, so the overall curve of the prices were a little bit higher. If I wasn't able to afford the medium accommodations that would have made me comfortable, I would have just pushed the trip back a few months, because then the prices overall come down because it's the off season. And also now I have more time to save and pay off any payment plans and things like that. So found my high, medium, low options. I chose the medium. And then this is where the fun begins. So now, like, okay, when it comes to trip, your biggest expenses are going to be the flight and the lodging. How do you get there, and how much is it going to cost for you to stay there? So start with those chunks of like nailing those down. And I always set a flight tracker. Like if I'm in a conversation with a random person and they're like, oh my God, you should go here, I just set a flight tracker just to get an idea of what the options are. Hey there. We're talking about planning our travel. So I always set a flight tracker, and what you can do is you go on google.com. You can actually go on flights, Google Flights. Just type in flights.google.com, and you just type in flight from wherever you're trying to go from to wherever you're trying to go. It'll give you a list of the different options. If you have specific airlines you like to travel, just select to filter by those airlines, and then you'll scroll down like a little bit, about a quarter of the page, and you'll see an option that says track prices for this flight. Turn that on, and then you can also pick if you want to do those specific dates or you have flexible dates. Turn that on, and it'll just send you emails of what the flights are looking like, so you don't have to keep checking. And if there's a if there's a crazy drop in the flights, you'll get notified. So let's say that you're waiting on it to hit a certain level before it can be in your budget. You'll know immediately when it does hit that level, and you can pull the trigger and buy your flight. So that's one of my favorite things to do. And then when it comes to lodging, I mean, if you don't have rewards, I don't know what you're doing. Like, you need to sign up for every rewards and stars and points and all those things. And then also, I have the Delta SkyMiles card, and I also have the Amex Gold card. So Amex has its own list of hotels that it'll give you access to with a bunch of money off at any given time at tons of locations. And then Delta also has this Delta Stays feature where you can look up different things. Now, the specific place I went to was a bed and breakfast. It wasn't on either of those options, but for 80 to 90% of my trips, I end up using one of the Delta Stays or the Amex options, or something on my points. I'm also a NSBE member, which gives you access to an exclusive database of hotel discounts as well, which I recently used in DC for a great deal. So I would say get the best bang for your buck on the biggest expenses. So track the flight and make sure that to wait to pull the trigger till it tells you prices are low. It'll tell you prices are average right now, prices are high right now, and prices are low. Now, it's a little tricky with the timing. Don't wait too long because it might go back high. But you have to do your research on how far out does this destination do the prices usually raise, and you'll get good information and know when to pull the trigger. And then if you can save a lot of money on your lodging, which is going to be your biggest expense overall, now you know how much left of your budget you have to play with. And that's where we get to do the fun and plan an itinerary of all the activities. So now the activities are going to be based on what you like, right? So for me, I made a whole tracker, which is linked for you in the description to this video. And what it will have is different categories. I put my specific categories, but of course, if you use the tracker, you can plug and chug whatever works for you. My categories are wellness, fitness, culture and history, rest and relaxation, eating good, entertainment / shopping, and then nature. So I'm a nature girl. I like to stay fit. So all I did was create different categories in a spreadsheet, and it just started every time I would find a different link to something, just plug it in there, and it makes it more fun and less overwhelming because you have a place to put everything. And then on the other tab of the tracker, of the travel tracker, what you'll see is I also have all the tasks that I need to do to get my trip completed and planned. So the first task is always to set your Google flight, book lodging, and then you can plug in packing, get your dog aborted, all the other things that you need to do to get to a successful trip as well. But yeah, that I will be sharing the travel tracker in the link in the description to this video. Okay, so I mean, you have your budget, right? You know the vibe you're going for, which your vibe informs your itinerary. Like for me, I wanted to relax and connect with Black history. And so on my itinerary, we made sure that we did a bike ride, we did a spa day, we did an amazing heritage tour. This is some of the richest, oldest Black history in America. I actually found out while I was there that Massachusetts was the first colony to abolish slavery. So this was one of the first places that Black free people had as an oasis. So that just felt amazing to experience that and to learn it. firsthand oral history that's been passed down for 6 to 7 generations. I'm a nerd, so I love that and get to see. I also really love architecture. I studied architecture in school. The architecture was so beautiful and unique. So I had those things in there, and then of course all the restaurants. I mean, the food was fooding. The food. If you're a foodie, go to Martha's Vineyard. If you're a foodie, go to Martha's Vineyard. If you like seafood, go to Martha's Vineyard. Just go. Don't ask. Just go and go where the locals tell you. Just do it. And then of course, nature. So there are also, oh my gosh, breathtaking sunsets, amazing beaches. It is like pebble beaches, like it's sand, but then there's like a lot of shells. But it's still amazing beaches, and they're also known because they have this beautiful cliff area in the like historically indigenous area. So what I did was, all that information is kind of like a lot. So I put it all in a clean, color-coded tracker where you just list out, start with a brain dump, and you list out, hey, these are my categories. These are things, different ideas that I'm finding in each category. It already has an option for you to check not started, in progress, done, or maybe I won't do that after all. And then you also, what I love about it is that there is this automated date column. So what you can do is you reverse engineer, right? I found because it was high season, there was a lot of recommendations to book certain things ahead of time. And they would say, make sure you book this at least a month to 6 weeks ahead of time. So if I know I'm going to be there on the 4th, I would put in my travel itinerary to-do list, book the heritage tour. If it says to do it a month ahead of time, I just put a date. Book this by June 6th if I want to take the tour on July 6th. And so what it does is you can go into that tracker periodically, or as you and your friends start brainstorming, or as people ask you questions and send you links to things, and you can add a link to it. And you can also, when you see it, it'll turn orange or red. If you're getting close to that time where you really should have got that done, it'll be orange. And if you should have did that like a week ago, it'll turn red. So it's a visual way to help you stay on track of everything without feeling overwhelmed, because planning a trip can very quickly get overwhelming, especially if there's multiple people involved. And to me, travel should be fun. Travel should be a self-discovery experience. Travel should be a way to fill yourself up, and it shouldn't feel like work. It should feel like leisure. It should feel like you're letting the steam out, letting the pressure out, and getting rejuvenated to come back to your life better. So once again, first thing you're gonna do when you're planning travel like a project manager, start with your budget. Secondly, what is your vibe gonna be? Like, are you trying to turn up? Are you trying to relax? Are you trying to, some people go like do like mountain climbing and stuff. Like, what are you trying to do? Is it a business trip? Third thing, collect the data. You need a combination of word of mouth with people you actually personally know, because people will recommend things to you that you will not like. If you don't know them well, they may love it, you may not like it. You need to start with word of mouth, people in your network, people you've already followed for a long time and you know your vibes match up. And then take that and build upon it and follow certain social media sites. Use AI to ask for more details about certain events that may be happening, where you may want to line up your travel around notable events happening in that area or at that time. Or you can even ask AI, hey, I really want to go here, but it's an expensive place and this is only my budget. It'll tell you the off season. That's the fun part. You don't have to go ask a million people. Just ask AI, when is the off season in Martha's Vineyard, and when can I get a room for less than $300 a night? And boom, it'll spit out options for you. And then you can reverse engineer when you can actually go to this place based off of information, instead of getting out there and getting stuck or spending more money than you wanted to because you just really wanted to make it happen. So then after you've collected all the data, you've asked AI, you've asked word of mouth, you have your budget, you have your goal, choose whether you want to go with a high, medium, or low vibe. And that would be completely based on your budget. Of course, in your budget, make buffer, right? Your budget should not be your flight and your hotel. It should be your flight and your hotel and like money to eat, money to shop, money to go on excursions, petty cash. You need a little buffer for some things just come up, you know, some things you may not even know about or be able to Google, but when you're in the moment, you want to be able to do it and enjoy everything. Or maybe you want to have an extra glass of wine than you usually do, you know what I'm saying? And then from there, whatever's left over in the budget of what you already planned, plan your activities. And that's where the travel planner comes in. There's already categories for each type of activity for you. There's already some ideas thrown in there. You and your friends can share the document with each other and use it as a brain dump. It's really fun. Once you get the hang of it, it's very easy to use. It's color coded for you. Just put in everything based off the time it needs to be done. Based on if you really want to do it or not, cross it off the list if you guys, not enough people vote for it, or put it on your own personal list if you're going with a group. And then you could do fitness activities, get into the culture, learn more about the history, put notable museums on there if you like museums. And you can put different things like restaurants. If there's a really famous restaurant, you want to put that on the travel tracker that you need to make that reservation in advance, because the worst thing is to be at a once in a lifetime opportunity standing in front of that restaurant and they tell you, ma'am, you need to go home. Like, we cannot get you in. We can't get you at the bar. There's some restaurants that are so notable and so worth it. You can't just walk in there like that. You need to put on that tracker, I'm going to be here on July 2nd. So I need to make my reservation by May 30th or June 2nd at the absolute latest. So that's a way to keep a track of everything, because then life starts lifing, right? I planned this trip New Year's. I'm not gonna just wake up on May 30th and say, oh, I need to remember to plan to make my reservation today. But if I already have it, I just take an hour at the beginning of that year and put everything on a list, and I already have it and just check in monthly. It's so much easier to stay on top of everything. And then once all those things are together, the fun part is just checking them off the list. Oh my God, it was so fun just dilly-dallying around, waking up, going to the beach and being like, what should we do today? How are we feeling? And then we would just pull up the list and be like, ooh, this sounds fun. And we would do it. Because you don't have to think about it because you've already done the research. So you know it's something you're going to like, right? But at the same time, you need a little bit of structure, because you don't want to just be wandering around randomly and wasting your time at this amazing destination. So it gives you the best of both worlds. It feels very structured at first, but it really gives you the freedom to dilly-dally and just be in the moment. And there's days we threw the list out the window and we just asked the locals, or we just slept all day, or we just were on the beach taking walks, or whatever we wanted to do. But it was very fun, and also had this sense of being rewarding and successful. As the week went on, we went and checked more and more things off the list. And we said, oh, we know we're coming back here last year. We're like, okay, put a star next to that on the list for next year, because we know we're going to be back and we want to do this first thing. So I hope this is all super helpful. As a project manager, I'm someone who, no matter what I'm doing, whether I'm thinking about it or not, I'm project managing it. I'm creating a document. I'm creating a tracker, because I just like to get the most out of life. And I think that when you prepare yourself for things, you really can enjoy life. And it may sound counterintuitive to plan your fun, but it quite literally is night and day. And I've been on trips where they weren't planned well, and you can see the stress that the person who put it together is experiencing, and not having a backup plan, and when things go wrong and then you try to force something to happen because your time is limited. So just trust me on this. It's only $25 investment. There's even payment plans on the digital product. All you have to do, download the Google Sheet, plug and chug whatever you want in there, ask AI what do they think, give some ideas. And anyone who has the travel planner and you send me your receipt, you'll get a free consultation with me, and I'm happy to help you get your trip off the ground. So thank you for spending lunch with me. I'm gonna go actually get something to eat. And I hope that you enjoy your trip. And you can find, I will be posting the link to the travel planner. It's always in the link in my bio on my Instagram. I'll be posting it in the description to this live. And I also do a community post on YouTube, so you can get the link to the travel planner if it comes up later and you're ready to take the first step. So thank you. I'm Ari. I'm your favorite chic geek. And drop in the comments and let me know, where are you gonna go and when, and what are you looking forward to planning with your new travel planner. All right, guys, have a great day.